Hello everybody, welcome to The Vibing Dead. This channel, I'm going to be making lots of videos about The Walking Dead, things I love about it, and top 5s and top 10s and things like that. Because I absolutely love The Walking Dead, it's my favorite show of all time, and I'm going to love making videos and talking about it. So I want you guys to just enjoy this video and then tell me what you think in the comments below. Now this video is about the top 10 saddest Walking Dead deaths. And I just made a list of what some sad deaths I think are and my opinions on them. So let's get right into it. Alright, so we have Mika for number 10. I put her at the number 10 spot because her death was very sad. It's mostly because she was an innocent child who was growing up in a dark world. She did nothing wrong and she was brutally stabbed to death by her own sister, which made it even worse in my opinion. We didn't get to see much of her and I would have loved to see who she would have become if she did survive longer. At number 9 we have Shane. Now a lot of people hate Shane, but I liked him. He was a very important character in Rick's story, and his death forever changed Rick. I thought his death was sad because even if you didn't like Shane, you had to watch Rick kill his best friend. Rick kept telling him that this was his fault, not Rick's, and you had to watch him cry over his dead best friend. It was quite heartbreaking in my opinion, but in the end, Shane had to die, and it was important that Rick was the one who killed him. Okay, so Bob was at the number 8 spot. I thought his death was sad because of how pure-hearted he was. He was so positive and he believed there was still hope, even though it's been a year or two into the apocalypse and it seems like there's no hope at all. He believed that they were just in a nightmare and that nightmares end. Bob was someone who did what he had to do to survive, but he did have mercy for others. He had his own share of problems, but overall Bob was a good person, and that is why I have him on this list as number 8. Okay, for number 7 we have Dale. The reason why I put Dale here is because he meant a lot to the original group in the beginning. Even though he was an old man, he did have a lot of influence on them. When he died, it hit worse than it would have because everyone had disagreed with him about the whole Randall situation. He was a good person and he didn't deserve to die by getting ripped apart by a walker. I do think that Daryl was the right person to kill him though. Still very sad and hard to rewatch because of all the pain he was in when he died. Sophia is number 6 on this list. Sophia was just a scared child who wasn't made for this kind of world, and that was proven in her death. Unfortunately, she couldn't find her way back to the highway, and that is why she died. A big reason why I put her at this spot was because there was pretty much a whole season that was based around finding her. Finding Sophia was a big drive for the group, and when she walked out of that barn, it broke a few people and changed them forever. Sophia wasn't my favorite character of all time, but I do think her death was really sad because it had a big impact on a lot of characters. Okay, at the number 5 spot we have Abraham, and his death was sad because of how he went. He was beaten by a baseball bat. Seeing a friend die like that has got to be horrible. It made it even more sad when he put up the peace sign to Sasha one last time. He was a strong person who was fearless, and it was very sad to see him go. I'm going to miss him, but I always will enjoy the time we have with him on the show. He was a funny character, he said funny things, and he was a boss character too. So I'm really going to miss him. That's why he's number 5 on this list, and he made the number 5 spot. Alright, so Glenn is number 4. Now, you're probably wondering why Glenn isn't number 1. I didn't put him at the number 1 spot because yes, his death was very sad, but I find it more disturbing and gory than sad. It still was way more sad than Abraham's death, and when I say that, it is very sad, but I don't think it's the most saddest death in The Walking Dead. But it's just hard to watch because it's one of the best characters on the show getting beaten to death right in front of you. Seeing his eye pop out and then him shaking on the ground was horrific, and it is the hardest rewatch ever in The Walking Dead for me. But the most sad part is when he struggled to say, "Maggie, I'll find you," as Maggie watched her husband die right in front of her in a very, very brutal way. Now we are down to top 3. Carl is the 3rd spot on my list. I put him here because his death was one of the most heartbreaking deaths on The Walking Dead. He has been there since season 1, the very beginning. He was Rick's number 1 motivation to stay alive in the apocalypse. Rick loved Carl more than anything, and that's the really sad part. We got to watch Carl grow up on the show, and seeing him so weak and dying was difficult to watch. He wasn't one of my favorite characters, but having to go through losing a character that has been with us since the beginning was enough to make me shed a few tears. On my number 2 spot, we've got Beth. Now I know Beth wasn't the most popular character, but I loved her character in the later half of season 4. The Daryl and Beth survival story in season 4 was already emotional enough for me. Daryl and Beth grew a unique connection, and I loved that. It was sad to see Daryl cry when Beth was shot in the head by Dawn. I love Daryl as well, and if it makes Daryl cry, it makes it that much worse. Even in season 5, Daryl had to leave the group to go cry about missing Beth. Beth was one of the very few characters that Daryl had a deep connection with, and to see her go was very, very sad. Usually I don't mention Beth when I'm talking about my favorite characters, but I realized that I really like Beth. She wasn't the best in Season 2, she was okay. Once they got to the prison, I started liking her a little bit more. But in the last half of Season 4, I just loved her character. Seeing her and Daryl, two really different people, interact, like surviving together, I found that really interesting, and it was really sad to see that connection be built and then just ripped apart when she died. Now I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me on this, but my number one saddest Walking Dead death is Tyrese, and I'll tell you why. I feel like most people don't really care about Tyrese or his character, but I really found him interesting, and he was a pure-hearted good character just like Bob and, Dale and all those guys. And that is a big reason why his death was so sad. He was a really nice guy. He didn't ever want to kill people. He didn't ever want to kill walkers. Tyrese didn't really want to live. He had an obligation to live. He had an obligation to stay alive so he could help other people. Tyrese's death is a unique one, and that is why I think it's the saddest. As he's dying, he sees Mika, Lizzie, Bob, and Beth. He sees the kids he failed. He sees Bob, who was a good friend to him, who he also failed. He sees Beth, who just recently died. In this vision, they are telling him that it's all going to be okay, that it's better now. Like all the obligation he had and keeping people safe is over with. It's time for him to go. Time for him to leave Earth and go with them. Then they have a scene where Beth, Bob, Lizzie, and Mika are all in a car with him driving somewhere, like they are driving to heaven or something, and they are bringing him to. Just seeing all these dead characters back in one scene as Tyrese is dying is truly heartbreaking. It gives you all the memories of those other characters and makes you remember their lives and deaths as Tyrese is getting closer and closer to leaving Earth. It was a well done death, and it made me really sad like it was supposed to. That's why I think his death is the saddest in The Walking Dead of all time to this day. So that's my list. Tell me what you guys think in the comments, and if you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you recommended it to a friend who likes The Walking Dead too. Stay tuned for more content, guys. I will be creating more videos. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.